Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Cathcart. Wave. Say hello.
Hello.
Good. Thank you. If you're going to be speaking on the program, leave your microphone open. But if you're not, please mute yourself. Arnaud, if you would, mute yours. Thank you. And that way, if all of us are muted except the one who's speaking, then anytime we want to speak up, we can unmute and pose a question or do whatever we do. My name's Jim Cathcart. I'm a mentor to high achievers. That's what I do for a living, and I've done for the past 43 years. I'm based in California right now, soon moving to Texas in the southern part of the United States. And what I'm known for is a few of my books. I've written 20 books. I've delivered 3,300 lectures around the world. And a few of my books that I'm best known for are the book Relationship Selling, which is a book about selling in such a way that you consider each connection with the person as an asset that you are growing. So it's not just about gaining a sales transaction. It's about establishing a connection with someone where the trust level continually grows. And the more the trust expands, the more services you can provide. Let me define what a relationship is. There are many definitions, but the best one I've ever come up with is this one. A relationship is a direct connection between people in which value is being exchanged. So how do you build a relationship? You connect with someone and find a way to be of value to them. So that's the whole idea of Bitalium. Bitalium's idea is to take advantage of all this wonderful opportunity that's in the world today and do it in such a way that it allows people to connect and grow together. So my role here is to be sort of your guide, your mentor, your experienced friend who will be at your elbow and able to give you ideas to guide you along the way. I started years ago when I was in my 20s, I started into the field of training and development because I had done many, many other things and only been moderately successful at each of them. I'd worked in life insurance. I had sold investment products. I had unloaded trucks and boxcars. I had driven a truck. I had been a bill collector collecting past due payments. I had been a banker. I worked as a bartender. I sold motorcycles. I mean, I had many, many, many jobs. And finally, it occurred to me that the thing I enjoyed the most of all was teaching and helping other people succeed, but I didn't want to be a school teacher. That didn't interest me at all. I wanted to have a big, abundant life. I wanted to see the world and earn a lot of money and, do exciting things. So I thought, okay, how do I do that? Well, one day I heard on the radio, much as you're hearing in this webinar today, a man named Earl Nightingale. He was on 900 radio stations around the world at that time. And he had a little 5-minute show. And the show was called Our Changing World. Wow, what a good title that would be for a show today. But that day, I was a clerk in a government agency in the United States, in the state of Arkansas, the city of Little Rock, the capital city of Arkansas, where Bill Clinton's from. Bill Clinton and I, by the way, are the exact same age. We were both born in 1946. And if he'd made better choices, he could be your speaker this morning, but he has to be. So I was sitting there as a government clerk listening to this guy on the radio in the next room, and I was working at a small salary, unhappy with my job, had a new wife and baby at home. I was fat, I was overweight and didn't exercise. I smoked 2 packages of cigarettes a day. This was 1972. Many of you were not even born the day this happened. But I was in 1972, I was a 26-year-old guy, and I'm listening to the radio, and I'm bored with my job and unhappy. And the man on the radio said, if you will spend 1 extra hour each day studying your chosen field, in 5 years or less, you will be one of the nation's leading experts in that field. And I thought about that. 1 hour a day. Well, let's make it easy. 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year. Take 2 weeks for vacation, holiday. So 5 years, that's 1,250 hours of study in one field. Wow. What field do I want to study? I didn't know. So I thought about it. Someone just spoke. Please mute yours. Thank you. So I thought about that for weeks on end, and then it occurred to me, you know what I like the most? I like this field of how to succeed, human development. I like the field of self-improvement, and I want to be involved in that, but I had 2 problems. I had not improved myself. Thank you. I had not improved myself, and I had no message to share with other people. So I had to do a lot of learning first. Kind of like our friends are having the difficulty with the button right now. Thank you. Appreciate that, Dimitri. You got that. The thing that hit me was 5 years. 1 hour a day on one subject, 5 years. Think about this. You're now with Bitalium. What if you were to devote 1 extra hour each day to studying the whole field of cryptocurrency and what you can do with Bitalium? 1 extra hour each day for 5 years. Within 5 years, you would have transformed your life. So I was sitting there as an overweight, out of shape, broke, had no money, government clerk, making minimum salary. I had no college degree. I had never been exceptionally good in school. I was not an athlete. I didn't know anyone who was successful. And I heard the man on the radio, and I said, I want to do what he does. So I decided to become fanatically dedicated to studying the field of human development, what they later came to call human potential. When they were looking back on that period of the 70s and early 80s, they called that movement into the field of self-improvement the human potential movement. And I was involved in it early on as a learner, and then as a worker, and then as a teacher teaching other people's courses to businesses, and then as a salesperson selling other people's training programs, and then as an author writing my own training programs, and then as an author and publisher and professional speaker, and ultimately president of the National Speakers Association. As you're looking at me today, you're looking at a 73-year-old man who still feels like he's 40 years old inside. I do 100 push-ups every day to stay in shape. I go mountain trail running 3 days a week. I'm having more fun than I've had in many, many years. And I've done all of the things that the people in my field of professional speaking and training dream of doing. I've been the president of the National Speakers Association. I've published 20 books around the world. I've delivered 3,300 paid speeches to huge audiences. Just last year alone, I did 71 days of lectures in China to audiences as big as 3,000 people for up to 6 hours a day. 4 books in China, published in a combination of English and Chinese. I have a TED Talk. Do you know TED? TED? I have a TED video that has received over 2 million views. So I'm not saying this to boast. I'm saying this to illustrate that it's true that you can take the ideas I'm sharing with you and absolutely transform your life. I know I have done it, and I've helped and watched tens of thousands of other people do it over the past 43 years. So what I want you to do, and in today's call, I'm just going to share some quick ideas with you. And then I'll come back and, we'll share more ideas each time and go deeper on the ones that are most interesting and useful to you. But here's the main idea. You have a huge opportunity. We are at one of those turning points in history where something new is occurring that most of the world doesn't have any knowledge of at all yet. But 5 or 10 years from now, everybody will know about it. It will be as common as computers are today, okay? So cryptocurrency is something that's still a strange mystery. It's magic to most people. Bitalium is trying to make that simple and easy for people like you and me to help spread the word, to help teach other people and guide them into the early stages of this so that they can be the ones benefiting from the enormous growth that necessarily will come from this. So here's my suggestion. Think like a startup, like an entrepreneur. Think like the owner of a business that is just beginning. And let me describe to you what I think are the qualities of a startup. People who are starting up an entrepreneurial venture of their own have several things in common. Now, I have the title of Entrepreneur in Residence at the Center for Entrepreneurship in the School of Management for California Lutheran University in Thousand Oaks, California. And in that role, I advise young people and older people who are starting new businesses, and I help coach them in the growth of their business. So I've been doing this for quite some time, and I've done it with people worldwide. I realize there are vast differences in countries and cultures. There are differences in government regulations. There are differences in the society and the nature of what people trust and what people do. And, so you have to adapt all these ideas to fit your situation. But here's what's in the thinking of all successful entrepreneurs. Think like a startup, work like a startup, learn like a startup. Startups think open-ended. They think anything is possible. I'll consider anything as long as it's legal, as long as it's moral and ethical, and it seems like it'll pay off. I'll give it a try. That's in their thinking. They think zero-based. In other words, whatever I've been doing, it could be changed if it needed to be. So they don't consider, well, I've done all this, I have to keep doing that. No, you don't. You can change everything. As a matter of fact, let me pose a question. What one thing, if you did only that, full focus, only that for the next 5 years, could absolutely transform your life and make your dreams come true? One thing. See, that's the way an entrepreneur who succeeds is thinking. I'm going to do this until it works. They think, I'm going to show up every day, curious, eager to learn. I'm going to listen to anyone. I'm not going to necessarily follow anyone, but I'm going to listen to anyone and see whether their ideas are good or not. I'm going to try everything I can try. I'm going to throw things against the wall and see what sticks. And if there's a lot of throwing and the things fall off the wall, fine, I'll try something else. And when things fail, I'm going to say, next, what do we try now? All right, I'm going to stay up late, show up early. I'm going to focus on the one path that I'm pursuing. I'm going to be a blind optimist. I'm going to consider anything is possible temporarily. Now, blind optimism means you're looking forward that anything could be successful and not considering that it might fail. that's dangerous. So optimism is great, but if it's blind optimism, that has to be temporary. You got to stop once in a while and say, okay, is that working? Do I need to make a change? I'm going to work harder than I expected sometimes. And I'm going to always do just one more thing than I have to do. I'm going to try and experiment until I succeed. I'm going to change the customers I'm going after if I'm going after the wrong ones. I'm going to change my marketing methods if the ones I try aren't working. I'm going to change who I'm calling on, how I'm doing it, when I'm doing it, where I'm doing it, what I'm doing for them, or why, if I have to. I'm going to be willing to fail often because failure is required. Failure is the practice necessary for success. And if you're unwilling to fail, failure being temporary, then you're unwilling to succeed because success is more lasting. So people say, well, what if you fail? Well, what if I fail? You mean, what if I fall down? I'll get up. What if I lose money? I'll make different money. What if it's harder than you thought? Then it's harder than I thought. I'll work harder for a little while. If it's always harder, then I'll change paths. But failure is not only an option, it's a requirement for success. So be willing to fail. Don't get discouraged about it. Learn to do damage control. When you hurt someone's feelings or offend someone or do something stupidly or forget something or whatever, say your apologies early and make it better. Seek out coaches and mentors and guides everywhere. And every day, take time to reflect and think about what you've heard, thought, experienced, seen. Because without reflection, as a friend of mine, Kevin Buck, says, without reflection, there's no learning. So we get information in, but the information doesn't stay unless we give it time to find a file in the back of our head where it belongs. Just learning or hearing something is temporary until we think about it and what it means and how we can use it. Then it becomes more lasting. So think about when you get information, it's on your desktop. When you reflect on the meaning of the information, it goes into your file system and you can use it later, but you have to review the files to get it back to the desktop. Okay. Look for ways to outsource the work that you don't do well. If you're not good at something, find somebody who is and see if there's an affordable, inexpensive, not expensive way to do it, have them do it instead of you. Specialize in what you can do well and find people who do what you don't do well and outsource to them. Develop the habit of do it now. When there's something to be done, just get it done. My wife always marvels at the fact that I don't have a honey-do list. Now, in the United States, we call a honey-do list. It's a list of things that my wife wants me to do around the house. And since she usually refers to me as honey, a term of endearment, then that list is, honey, would you clean the garage? Honey, would you go get the mail? Honey, would you change the light bulb? That's a honey-do list of things to do. Well, I don't have one. Why? Because when Paula says, honey, could you change the light bulb? I stop immediately and go change the light bulb. I don't have to think about it anymore. She says, you don't have to do it now. I said, I know, but if I can, I do. Now, if what I'm doing needs my continued focus, I don't interrupt it. But if I can stop for a moment and handle that project, I do it. And it's over and it no longer bothers me. So do it now is a great habit. Be alert always for talents that you can tap in other people, for tools, getting their help, for tools that you can use to do things better and easier, for training that you can acquire and learn a new skill or a better skill, for time savers. Be willing to trust other people, But when you find that you can't trust them, cut your losses early. If someone shows you they can't be trusted, get out of that relationship. Okay? Be willing to trust, give them the benefit of the doubt, allow people to make a mistake once or maybe twice. But if you're seeing a pattern, get out of that relationship. Cut your losses early. When you're aligning with others, meet the parents. What I mean by that is if you were dating someone with the thought of marrying them, it would be really, really good for you to meet their parents, because they're going to be a whole lot like their parents when they get older. And in many ways, you are marrying the parents. Sometime in the future, your spouse will be like that. Well, the same thing's true in businesses. Meet the parents. If someone else wants to get into a business arrangement with you, meet the people they've done business with or the people they're currently aligned with, and understand that that's part of the package. So be careful. Another is make time to have fun. Make time to stay healthy, to be rested. Don't burn yourself out, because if you do that, then you have to make time for illness. So make time to, like for me, when I'm feeling just too burdened, I will go hop on my motorcycle and go for a ride. My wife will say to me, "Where are you going?" And I say, "Wrong question." If I have to have a destination, then it's a task. I don't have a destination. I just want to go ride and enjoy the exhilaration of being out in the open on that motorcycle. And so I'll go ride for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, sometimes overnight when I can. But that frees my mind and spirit and helps me relax in a big way. If I can't do that, I'll go for a run on a mountain trail near my home. If I can't do that, I'll go for a walk, or I'll go, I'll do something to rejuvenate, reflect, and relax. So a few years ago, I did something that I've done many times over the years. I say a few years ago, this was 16 years ago. And so that was many years ago. But I was in a seminar, and I go to seminars often. I don't just teach seminars, I attend seminars, and I have my own set of mentors and coaches that I pay to advise me. And occasionally I'll bring in a specialist and I'll pay them a large fee to spend a while with me, getting me to the next level of something. But I was in a seminar. I had flown to North Carolina to sit in this 4-day seminar. And one of the things that was posed as a question was this one: what if I did it for the next 5 years diligently, meaning committed and dedicated and disciplined about it? What one thing, if I did it for the next 5 years, would solve most all my problems and improve my life? Well, my friend and fellow professional speaker and author, Don Hudson, he says there are very few problems in life that more sales won't solve. In other words, earning more revenue usually makes a whole lot of problems go away. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So I thought, what one thing, if I did it for the next 5 years, would solve all my problems, most of my problems, and improve my life? And so I looked at all the things I had going, and look at the complexity of these notes. So I scribbled all over the place on this while I was doing that exercise. And I thought, okay, how can I do this? And I listed all the various things I was involved in. So for you, you would have Bitalium right at the top of the list. And then you'd have the other things you have going on in your life. And I said, these are the criteria I'm going to judge the items by. And I'm going to see which ones end up in my top 3 that I should focus on. And I'm going to drop as many of these things as I can after that and focus only on those top 3, and as much as possible, only on the top 1. So I said, all right, which ones out of this long list have the most financial potential, the most potential to make me wealthy if I do them and do them well and keep on doing them? And then the second, and I gave each one a numerical ranking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Second thing, which of these has the most overhead cost? Which ones cost me the most, require the most commitment from me financially? Which one, and I did that ranking, which ones have the strongest emotional appeal to me? Which ones just turn me on and get me excited about doing the work? Okay, and I did a ranking of those. Which ones have the best payoff for the effort involved? In other words, what's the level of difficulty or ease of work relative to the payoff you get from it? And so I ranked them all according to that. And by the way, I've typed all these up, and we'll make these available to you in writing so you don't have to capture all of them. So this is something you can look at and reflect on later. Which ones have the most prestige? If I told someone else I was doing this, would they be impressed? Would it help my status among the people I care about, the people whose opinion I care about? And then I did the ranking. Which of these things could ultimately be delegated to someone else to a large extent, so that my workload each week would be shrinking over time to where I could do just a few hours of work a week and still get the big payoff over time? And then which ones have the greatest pass along potential for me to delegate or sell it to someone else or bequeath it to my son, my partner, my colleague? And I did all those rankings, and then I went back, and as you can see, this is all scribbled, very unscientific, but it was my method. I scribbled my notes and I ranked all these items, and then I came up with my master list at the bottom that told me which ones were the top out of the 12 that I had on the page. And I took the top 3 and I focused only on those. And then I wrote a description on the back of the page with my observations. And here's what I put. Based on all this analysis, I notice that my greatest joy comes from helping other people succeed, from teaching, from speaking, from training, consulting, coaching, writing books, doing blog posts, interviews, creating assessments to help people understand themselves better, doing college lectures, leading parlor discussions, mentoring other people, radio shows, television shows, and all the other things that I've been doing. All of those fit the scenario and feed the path that I had chosen for myself. So today, I'm at a whole new point in my career, and I'm able to absolutely expand at an age where most people are shutting down. Now, like I said, I'm 73 years old, but I feel like I'm 40. Well, I feel that I've just begun to hit the big time in my life. Now, I've had international best-selling books. I've received awards. I'm currently in the top 1% of all the TED videos in the world. I've been president of organizations and all those sort of things. But that was, sort of a check. Okay, been there, done that. Next, right? And many of my colleagues, they're saying, hey, Jim, when are you going to retire? And I tell them jokingly, I'll say, I'll tell you what, you can come to my retirement party. Now, they may tell you that it's a funeral, but believe me, that's my retirement party, because I don't plan to retire, to stop working until I'm dead. Because as long as my mind will work, my mouth will work, and I can share value to other people, then I want to stay engaged, because what we're doing right now, is what gives me great joy. And I also make plenty of time to stay physically fit and to have great friendships and to do the things that I consider to be great fun, like playing the guitar and singing in clubs. My wife and I sing, and we do special events, and we sing in wine bars and nightclubs, and I've performed on big stages around the world. So I have plenty of time to have fun. I have a wonderful family that I'm in love with. I'm still healthy, thank you, Lord, and fully engaged in my career. And I want all of that for you. And if Bitalium is the path that will bring that for you, then follow these guidelines and I'll guarantee you, you can transform your life. And I would love to be able to help. So I'm Jim Cathcart, and that's today's message. And I'll now turn the program over to the others.